It's Halloween and we have one spooktacular of a show ahead.
Speaking of spooky, the East Carolina Pirates gave the Owls all they could handle on a scary Saturday.
I'm Jaden Vallejo and we've got some hoops. I'll be breaking down this Monday's season-opening men's and women's doubleheader at the Leah Corse Center.
And I'm Anthony Rossioli. Later in the show, I'll be talking about Temple fencing competing at the 44th annual Nikki Frank Classic.
I'm Emily Dino Terrace, live at the Temple Sports Complex. The field hockey team has officially qualified for the Big East tournament, but there's some big concerns heading into their final week of the regular season. I'll explain an OwlSports update starting right now.
Welcome to this Halloween special edition of OwlSports Update. I am Michael Mirville alongside Julia Green. It was a homecoming hangover for football at East Carolina.
And preparations for the basketball season tip off here along with a playoff push for a struggling field hockey team. But let's start with a haunting performance by the football team. The Owls continued their season and headed down to Greenville to face East Carolina on Saturday in an AAC matchup, but battened down the hatches because the Pirates wiped the deck with the Owls thanks to a big third quarter. Setting the stage at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium, both teams headed into this one 1-2 in the conference. Evan Simon is at quarterback and he shoves his way into the end zone for a Temple rushing touchdown. Now Simon is going to show off his passing for a 60-yard touchdown to wide receiver Ashton Allen for an early Owls lead. Now try not to get deja vu on this play as Simon throws another one to Allen for a Temple touchdown to extend the Owls lead to 21-13. But now a second half slump leads to 3 unanswered touchdowns for the Pirates. Simon attempts to close the gap with a touchdown pass to Landon Morris. But the Pirates aren't done, however, as Marlon Gunn runs one in, and then he's going to celebrate as ECU starts to run away with this one. Now to close out this dominant third quarter, Catton Hauser throws another one to make it 3 touchdowns in 90 seconds for the Pirates. Hauser shined at quarterback with a career-high 5 touchdowns for East Carolina as they take the win over the Owls 56-34.
Going on, this poor eye discipline is it's not characteristic. I don't really have an answer for you. We're going to figure it out, but you know, our level of execution on defense was not to standard. You know, just doing things that we have not done in a very long time.
We are now going to go over some stats from the game that caught our eye against East Carolina. To start off with some quarterback play, Evan Simon continues to produce for the Owls. Simon threw for 294 yards and 2 passing touchdowns, rushing one in for himself. His play wasn't all sunshines and rainbows, as Simon also threw 3 interceptions, including a pick 6 in that third quarter.
Now for the Pirates, quarterback Catton Hauser had an impressive performance with a career-high 5 touchdowns. Hauser threw for 269 yards. Similar to Simon, he also had some struggles, however, throwing 2 interceptions and a fumble. Now, Simon wasn't the only one producing for the offense on Saturday. The Owls showed off their run game with Therese Worthy in the spotlight. Worthy produced 20 carries for 88 yards. In the third quarter, Worthy helped to cut the lead by 1, running one into the end zone.
Now, just like most teams against Temple, the Pirates also targeted the run game. Graduate student Rajay Harris had 11 carries for 130 yards. Harris also scored a touchdown in that third quarter to put the Pirates up 14, and Temple was never able to come back. On the other side of Simon's throws was wide receiver Ashton Allen. Allen caught 4 balls with 109 receiving yards. He was on the receiving end of back-to-back touchdowns for the Owls, gaining their only lead of the game in that third quarter.
And now we'll go back to the Pirates again. Hauser's go-to at receiving was Chase Sowell, and Sowell caught 4 and had 117 receiving yards. He also had a touchdown to close out the first half, catching a 45-yard pass from his QB.
Temple wide receiver John Adams caught one ball for 20 yards. The redshirt junior started his time at Temple as a walk-on, but before the start of this season, Adams received life-changing news that left him overcome with emotions.
Each season, Temple football has a handful of students that walk on for the Owls, just like number 17, John Adams. But this summer, this junior got some news that changed his life. In front of all his coaches and teammates, Adams was awarded with a full-time scholarship at the start of the season.
It was so surreal, it's just a lot of weight off my shoulders.
Adams joined the Owls in 2021 as a walk-on, providing depth at the wide receiver position. He played sparingly in 2022 and got some time on special teams before breaking his leg in 2023.
It was day in and day out here at Egbert Olson where Adams bounced back to work on his game. And eventually, it all came to fruition with his hard work. It left him overcome with emotions.
Now, in 2024, Adams is back and has added 20 pounds of muscle. He's on scholarship and playing more than he ever has with 11 receptions for 124 yards.
Because ever since I was a kid, I didn't dream about stuff like that. I wanted to be here when I was a kid.
After being awarded the scholarship, Adams has played in all 8 games this season, this including a career-high 4 receptions in the homecoming win against Tulsa.
You know, he is playing good football for us right now, and he's bringing exactly what we need from a demeanor standpoint.
Despite being on full scholarship, Adams admits there's still work to be done for himself and the team. Now that he's on scholarship, better results are expected. He knows it comes with his new role.
Adams has spent this season catching balls from different quarterbacks. Temple has played 3 quarterbacks this season. To compare how these QBs have played, we bring on Inside the Nest beat reporter Jackson Batchelor to take a look. Hey, Jackson.
Guys, this year we've seen 3 different Owls under center thus far. Let's take a look at each of the 3 signal callers that we've seen this season. We'll start with Forrest Brock, who was named the starter in Week 1, and we've seen 3 games out of him. Simon actually took over for Brock in Week 3 against Coastal Carolina after Brock got hurt. We've only seen 1 touchdown through the air for Forrest Brock, but he completed 30 passes against Navy in Week 2, which is tied for a career high. Then there's Evan Simon, who, like I said, took over as a starter after a solid performance against Coastal Carolina. We've seen 5 games out of him, and he threw 5 touchdowns in his second game against Utah State, but he did get injured in the final play of the Army game. And he missed 1 game against UConn, only to return in Week 8 against Tulsa, and he'll likely remain the starter for the rest of the year. And then there's Tyler Douglas, who was the QB3 coming into 2024. He's appeared in just 1 game this year, so it's a very small sample size, and he never even attempted 1 pass in the UConn game, but he is known for his goal line fumble that lost Temple the game. Even though injuries have been an issue in the quarterback room, it has allowed for competition among the signal callers. But Drayton mentioned after the ECU game, right now, Simon is the guy. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Jackson Batchelor. Guys, back to you on deck.
We are up for the first break of the day, but when we return, we will talk basketball and field hockey's recent slump ahead of the postseason tournament.
OwlSports Update will be back in 90 seconds.
College basketball is just days away, but when the Owls tip off on Monday for their season opener, they'll be short-handed. Both senior guard Lynn Greer III and assistant coach Chris Clark will miss the first 9 games of the season. These 2 suspensions are unrelated to each other and to the ongoing gambling investigation at Temple. Greer's suspension centers on violations from his days at St. Joe's. Clark's issues center on impermissible benefits to student athletes. Head coach Adam Fisher put out a statement saying, "We acknowledge that they made these mistakes and it is unfortunate, but they are a part of the family and we will get through this together."
Short-handed or not, the season starts Monday when Sacred Heart comes to town for the first part of a doubleheader at the Liacouras Center. OwlSports Update Jaden Vallejo is live in the studio set to preview game number 1 of the 24-25 season. Hey, Jaden.
Yes, the Owls are back in action at home Monday with a doubleheader at the Liacouras Center. The men's team suits up for their season opener against Sacred Heart. The preseason polls ranked Temple 6th in the American, led by transfer graduate guard Jamal Mashburn Jr., who's been selected to the men's AAC All-Conference preseason first team. The Owls are looking to build off an unexpected run to the AAC championship game last March, with head coach Adam Fisher leading the way.
Practice is going well. You know, I think today's practice 20, you get 30 practices prior to your first game, so it's a lot of new people on our team, so we're putting that all together, but it's been exciting, been fun, and I know we're eager to play somebody else. You know, we have a couple closed scrimmages. I know they use the term like secret scrimmage now, so that's always fun to play somebody else, but I think you get to this point where you're like, okay, we've been together all summer, we've been together all preseason, now let's go play somebody else.
As for the women, they start their season with the second game of the doubleheader against Richmond. They look to build off last season, where Temple finished 20-12 and tied for the top spot in the conference's regular season. The Owls are led by last year's leading scorer Tiara East, moving into her senior year, and Temple will also look for young players like guard Tristan Taylor and forward Jaleesa Molina to take big steps going forward into their junior years. After the home opener, both teams head out on the road, the men to New Jersey and the women to Delaware. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Jaden Vallejo. Guys, back to you at the news desk.
Players on both teams are recruited from all over the country. Graduate forward Amaya Oliver has traveled to North Broad from the West Coast and has already taken on a leadership role. OwlSports Update's Mylene Marlin takes a look.
Amaya Oliver has spent most of her life playing basketball, but one thing she hasn't done is play along the East Coast.
I want to win. I want to go far, win the conference championship, and get a shot at the March Madness.
Amaya has played her entire college career in California at USC and Loyola Marymount, so she is no stranger to high expectations.
Temple's season is heating up, and star player Amaya Oliver is ready to take the charge. Let's dive into what makes her an unstoppable player on the court.
My role is to be a leader, to bring my experience as a fifth year. I want to just be able to teach the younger ones, the freshmen, the sophomores on our team.
Well, I think as a player, I think it's her versatile play. She can play with the back to the basket, and she can shoot threes, and she can pull herself out, so I love that. From a leadership standpoint, she's always talking on the court, and I love that about her. She explains things to the younger players, and then she steps up.
Amaya Oliver gets her first chance in her new East Coast home on Monday when Richmond comes to town. Reporting from Temple's Pearson Hall, I'm Mylene Marlin, OwlSports Update.
It's an exciting time for Coach Richardson. Her Temple season is about to get underway, but she just finished watching the WNBA season with a critical eye. Richardson's adopted daughter, Jonquel Jones, plays for the New York Liberty. And just last week, Jones not only led the Liberty to the league title, but she won Finals MVP after scoring 17 points in the fifth and final game with Mom in the stands.
Well, it was great. And, you know, to be there when they announced that she was the MVP was really good, and glad I was there to share it with her and going to her games and her working so hard. And actually, once the buzzer went off, security came to get me from my seat to bring me on the court, and I got to embrace her for the win. And then, of course, when they announced her as MVP, I was there to give her a big hug, too.
Temple field hockey was on the hunt to qualify for the Big East tournament. They have struggled on the road with an away record of 2-5 before this two-game weekend road trip. The Owls headed to Villanova and then to New Haven with a lot at stake. First up for the weekend stretch of games, the Owls face their conference rival Villanova Wildcats on Friday. Goaltender Isabella Ospitali makes a save in net, but the Wildcats get the redirect with Ava Borkowski tipping it in. Now the Wildcats are on the charge again. Temple defense tries to stay strong and bat it out, but Borkowski gets another one for Villanova. The Wildcats look to send it home, and they are able to, making it a hat trick for Ava Borkowski, with the final of 3-0 Villanova over the Owls. The team's struggles continued Saturday against Yale in a non-conference game. The Bulldogs shut out the Owls with a 2-goal performance from Yamir Massey. Yale is now 10-5 on the season, while the Owls dropped their 3rd straight.
All 3 of these Temple losses have come on the road. In total, Temple sits at 2-7 when making a trip away from North Broad. The loss to Villanova last Friday is an example of Temple's recent struggles. OwlSports Update's Emily Dina Terrace is live at the Temple Sports Complex. She was at Friday's game versus Nova. Hey, Emily.
Thanks, Michael. This past weekend, Temple's field hockey has secured a spot in the Big East tournament, but they're still struggling down the stretch. Temple has a losing record on the road, and these issues came to light this past weekend along the main line.
The road hasn't been a friendly place for Temple's field hockey team this season, and this past weekend was a prime example. A 3-0 loss at Villanova last Friday, which brought an end to Temple's 7-game win streak, the longest since 2007.
Enough team, I think it's all what today we lacked was just a lack of intent.
And then, 2 days later, another shutout loss at Yale.
But sometimes we just play to the other team's play, and then we're not used to that, so then they beat us on that part, so we have to just go back to our own roots and just play our own game.
The Owls failed to score a single goal in their 2 losses this past week. It's been a common issue for this team this season. Temple's record at home stands at 7-0, where they score 3 goals a game and give up less than half a goal per game. But on the road, it's the opposite. The Owls are 2-7, giving up more than 2.5 goals per game.
Playing outside Temple, it's hard for us because, first of all, it's not our turf. It's harder because you don't feel like you're home, so you have to create the atmosphere.
The Owls have already clinched a spot in the Big East tournament and will be playing in Providence, Rhode Island. So, Temple will need to win 2 back-to-back road games to take the title, but it's something they haven't done all year.
The Owls have 2 more games in the regular season, both at home. On Friday, they have their final conference game against Quinnipiac, and they wrap up their season against Lehigh on Sunday. The Big East tournament is 1 week from Friday. At the Temple Sports Complex, I'm Emily Dino Terrace. Guys, keep it real in TV3 studio.
Despite the recent rough showings away from home, the Owls are still postseason bound, as Emily mentioned. The Big East tournament runs on November 8th with the semifinal games and the 10th with the title game. Temple currently stands with a third with a 4-2 record in Big East play. UConn, Old Dominion, and Liberty round out the top 4 for now. The winner of the tournament grabs an automatic bid into the national tournament.
It's time for our second break of the show. When we return, fencing hosts the Nikki Frank Classic and honors a star alumna.
OwlSports Update will be back in just a short moment.
Welcome back. Temple alumna Margarita Calderero has been named NCAA Woman of the Year Top 30 honoree. This honor is for excellence in academics, athletics, service, and leadership. Calderero was a star fencer during her time at Temple. She accumulated 203 wins, 3rd all-time for Temple fencing. Not only was she successful on the strip, she maintained a 4.0 GPA while studying neuroscience.
Calderero's former teammates competed in the 44th annual Nikki Frank Classic at the Leacourt Center over the weekend. Anthony Rossioli is live at the studio set to talk more about the Owls' success at this event. Hey, Anthony.
Thanks, Michael. At the 44th annual Nikki Frank Classic, Temple placed 6 of its athletes in the top 15, thus earning medals in foil and epee. 14 of Temple's athletes moved into the elimination round as well. In foil, Renee Oyman led the Owls with a perfect touch score of +20. In epee, sophomore Grace Smith and freshman Victoria Deutschkovich won 4 out of 5 bouts with a touch score of +12. Smith also earned medals and placed 8th. Lastly, in saber, senior Eva Ventura led the team with a touch score of +12 and earned a spot in the top 15, placing 14th. The Owls will be back on the mat in 3 weeks with a short trip to Penn for the Elite Invitational. Live from the studio set, I'm Anthony Rossioli. Guys, back to you guys at the desk.
Volleyball with Temple kicking off a challenging matchup against a Rice team that was 7-2 in conference. Set 1, Temple is in white uniforms. They come off strong, but they'll end up falling to Rice in the set, 25-23. Now on to the next. Temple looks for a comeback, but Rice stays hot. Taylor Davenport and Sydney Jones leading kills, but it isn't enough as Rice wins the second set. Final set, Temple tries to kill off Rice's lead, but the momentum is unable to be stopped. This set proved to be Temple's worst, falling 3-0 in the match.
Two Owls have been recognized by the American Athletic for their recent play. Taylor Davenport and Sydney Jones are the driving force for Temple, combining for 93 kills in the past 3 matches. Davenport is 3 kills shy of 6 all-time in program history. Jones is a true freshman, leading the Owls with 15 kills in the team's most recent match against Rice.
I'm OwlSports Update's Sarah Winton at the studio set. Coming up after the break, I'll be discussing the golf team's quick trip to a prestigious local club. Grab your windbreaker, we're coming right back. Welcome back. Temple hit the green with 5 other local schools at the prestigious Aronimink Golf Course in Newtown Square last week. The tough course and challenging weather made for a difficult day on the scoreboard. Temple took to the Big 5 Golf Championship last Thursday at Aronimink Golf Club in Newtown Square. It's a course known for its tough conditions, in addition to being a stop along the Pro Tour, as it will host the 2026 PGA Championship.
Unbelievable of Aronimink to give us all the privilege to be out here and play. So that was spectacular for our kids and for all the kids participating. We're very fortunate for that.
The Owls faced narrow fairways, fast greens, and also challenging weather during the tournament. Temple began with a quality front 9 and held the lead heading into the back 9. This year, senior Ethan Whitney is a key contributor to the success of the team so far this season. With local rivals such as Villanova and Penn competing alongside Temple in the tournament, the Owls are looking to capitalize off of Whitney's success and aim for victory. But the tough conditions proved to be just that for the Owls, making scoring difficult on the back 9.
Wind was up, greens were very firm, so it was extremely difficult, and the course definitely won today.
Seniors Ethan Whitney and Michael Walsh led Temple, tying for 8th place individually. Temple placed 4th out of 6 teams, beating LaSalle and St. Joe's, with Penn taking the title.
Coming down here, playing our home event at the Big 5, just awesome. It's so much fun seeing everyone and even just beating everyone.
The 36 golfers teed off in this event, but this group only saw 1 birdie. After the tournament, the Owls had a quick turnaround and flew to FAU earlier this week, where they finished last out of 12 teams. This was the final event of their fall season. They will pick up again next year in mid-February for the Wexford Intercollegiate in South Carolina. Reporting live from the studio set, I'm Sarah Winton. Guys, back to you on the desk.
Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today's Halloween show. Please tune in Monday on socials at OwlSports Update for the Sports Brief. Get the latest on Owls football with Inside the Nest Tuesday at noon. And
that's all for today, but next week, catch our flagship show with Natalie Caranda and Gabriel Linnington on Thursday live at noon. From all of us at TV Studio 3, have a safe and happy Halloween.